This week, I decided that I was going to follow a recipe. I decided that I would go ahead and grab one of my Miss Maisy's Tasty Travels recipes and do a Irish soda bread, which is probably the easiest recipe. Let's get to cooking. So the recipe I'm following has 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of a whole wheat flour, a tablespoon and a half of salt. This is actually really coarse salt, so it's probably not going to work the best, but we'll see. And then a teaspoon of baking soda. The only thing that isn't mixed in here yet is the 2 cups of buttermilk that the recipe says to wait until the oven has been preheated, and you're supposed to preheat the oven to 450. Currently it's at 410, so I just have a couple minutes and it'll be good to go. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour would be 250 grams. The same with whole wheat flour, so equal parts of both. And I have 2 cups of buttermilk. So 2 cups of buttermilk would be 473 milliliters. Cool. And then I said to preheat the oven to 450, which is Fahrenheit. It'd be 230 Celsius. So for all my people who aren't on the same system as we here in the United States are, which is the entire rest of the world, you guys probably have it figured out way better than we do. From my understanding, everything is so much more complicated than it needs to be here. Salted butter. And it's easier to work with softened butter. So if you know you're going to be doing this in advance, if you could take your butter out of the fridge or wherever you keep it and leave it like in a warm place or in a warmer place to get up to room temperature, that's great. Otherwise, if you're feeling feisty, go ahead and put it in the microwave for a very little bit. I would say maybe 7 seconds at a time, just to soften it up, because we don't want it melted. We just want it softened so that you can do this. I know a lot of people like to line their baking dishes with parchment paper. I don't want to do that today, mostly because I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to. So we have our oven preheated, we have our pan buttered, and now we just have to go ahead and put the buttermilk in. This says to mix the dough until combined and just lightly knead it, and then form a ball and press it flattened into the pan. We have it as much in a bowl as it's probably going to get. Place it in the pan, and it says to flatten slightly. Push down to flatten slightly. Probably a better way to add the wet ingredients is to make a hole in your dry mixture and then pour everything in there, and then very slowly like add it around on the sides like you would if you were making pasta. So I'm gonna go ahead and just grab this knife real quick. It says to make an X on the top. You can't tell at all, it's fine. You'll be able to tell when it's done cooking, hopefully. Next thing it says is to bake for 15 minutes at 450 and then reduce to 400 and bake for another 30 minutes until golden brown or until it sounds hollow when you tap the bottom of it. Right, it's been 15 minutes. We just changed it to 400 from 450, and oh boy, that doesn't look good. Oh, it doesn't look good. Okay, it's been 30 extra minutes. Like, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look how I feel it should look. We're gonna call this rustic. And I'll let you know once I try some how I think it turned out. But this is what it is. It's bread. I can't imagine it's terrible, but we'll see. So here we go. Mostly just tastes like pretty bland bread. Serviceable, but like it needs to go with something. It's kind of weird to just eat it on its own. So if you had like a stew or a chili or cheese, it'd be pretty good. It's all right. It's not too dry, which I was afraid of, but I'm surprised. It doesn't look pretty. It turned out pretty decent, I think. It doesn't pack a lot of flavor, so I think it's kind of ride or die on what you have with it. So if you have a soup or a stew, like I stated before, it's probably amazing. It's a very sturdy bread. It's very thick and very filling. Very, very filling bread. That is my video for this time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you try this or if it helps, good. I'm glad it does. Yeah. It was a very interesting experience. The bread itself came out, we're going to be generous and say rustic. It doesn't look very aesthetically appealing, which is upsetting, but doesn't really matter when it's just me eating it, so it's okay. I hope you have a great day, and I guess I'll see you later.